Hello and welcome. I'm Candy, your business coach and systems specialist. Today we're going to be talking about why hiring a VA didn't free up the time that you really wanted it to and what to do about it. So I'm going to share my screen. I've got some slides with you for you. Um, Lovely. Hopefully you can see that there. Okay. So chances are that you decided, you were at your maximum, you needed to bring in support, you needed to hire a VA. And at first, it felt like relief because you thought, right, I found someone, I've hired them. This is going to be my ticket to freedom. I'm going to be able to get things off my plate. And then within a couple of weeks, you've likely hit some roadblocks where there's constant questions, you're re-explaining how to do the same things over and over. Perhaps you're fixing their work and at this point, it feels like managing them takes longer than doing it yourself. And you're starting to think, my goodness, like, is this even worth it? So you probably let them go. Maybe you've even been through this process a few times before with a few different VAs, and you've wasted money and months. And basically, it feels like you're no further ahead than you were 3 months ago. So I hear this one all the time. It's so hard to find a good VA. Every time I try to get support, it always fails. Maybe I'm just not someone who can have a team. I can't rely on anyone other than myself to do it right. And that's a real sticky one. But the problem never starts with the hire. It's never the VA. It always starts well before that. Now, before you think, hey, hear me out on this, right? Yes, there are some genuine bad VAs out there. But if you don't have these steps in place, then it's doomed from the get-go. So there's parts that we do have control over and there's parts that we don't. So these are the things that we do have control over. So there's likely four reasons why it's not working. The first one is that there's no job description or it wasn't clear enough. So often people are hiring and saying, I need help, I need support, I need an assistant, but they're really not that clear on exactly what they need, what tasks, what that even looks like. It's kind of like, I'll hire the person and then we'll figure it out. Number two, your back end isn't actually set up for somebody else to work inside it. Number three, there are no clear standard operating procedures, or they're very vague and it's not very useful, or it's really just like from hypothetical knowledge rather than like practical, like here's the action to take, here's how I want you to do it in what order and what that looks like. And then number four, you're trying to actually offboard before the system even exists. And this one happens time and time again. Like I mentioned with the job description, it's like, I'm going to hire the help, but I actually don't have anything ready for them. And it's never going to work that way, right? So let's dive in a little bit deeper. So reason number one is the job description. So that doesn't mean I just need help with admin or I need you to look after my inbox. Like that isn't a job description. That isn't enough. You need to be really clear on the exact tasks and responsibilities because not all VAs are the same. Are they going to be doing lead generation? Are they doing content repurposing? Are they doing podcast organizing? Are they doing outreach? Like all of those tasks actually require different styles of personality, different skill sets. So you actually need to really dial in at the front end. What are the tasks and responsibilities that you actually want them to be doing? What are the specific platforms and software that they must know? Like what is your current tech stack? Do they need to be proficient in that or is it fairly universal? What's their availability? What time zone are they in? Like if you need them to attend your live events, they're on the other side of the world and they're not going to be available at the time that you tend to run events, like that's never going to work. What's their communication style? Do they love getting on a voice note and hearing you riff on what you want doing, or do they really need that methodical written out, like what's the best way for them to receive the communication? And then what success in this role actually looks like. We want to have parameters that say like, when this job is done well, it looks like this and this is the result. Or when things go wrong, this is the process that I want you to follow. When do you need to ask for permission for something? And when do you need approval versus when can you just run with it? So all of these things you really want to build into your job description at the front end of your hiring process. Because if you're not clear on these things, how do you know exactly who you're hiring for and whether it's going to work? And if this gap isn't filled, likely it's because we weren't clear enough at the front end about who was a good fit, what needed to work, and what you actually needed. So number 2, your back end is a hot mess. Your desktop has 40,000 files on it all over the place and 10 different subscriptions you're not even really utilizing. So, you know, if you're a creative, you're a visionary, and you've been doing it mostly yourself, you're likely going to have stuff all over the place, right? And maybe it makes sense in your brain because like you've got the muscle memory of like where you maybe put it last time or where you tend to put things. But as soon as you bring somebody else on board who isn't in the back end all day, every day, and knows exactly how you work or where everything is, like it's going to create a lot of friction because it's not really clear where to find things, like where is the link to this, how do I log into that, how do I gain access, where are all the files, where are the photos, where are, you know, how do you repurpose your content, where do you want me to pull that from, um, where is the procedure, like all of these questions end up landing in your inbox. And by the time you've had to like explain it or send the files, it's basically like I might have well have done it myself. So if you're doing all of that and your files are all over the place and it's not very like clearly laid out in a very intuitive way to navigate, you've basically given them a maze and been like, find your way through. So it's going to take them a lot more time, a lot more hours, a lot more questions or troubleshooting. Like it's like wading through the mud. So it's not great for your VA either because that's not a fun way to work. And also it's a nightmare for you because you've got a million questions or you're having to find files and access links and things and send those all like individually, which is really an inefficient way to do things. So if your back end is a mess, if you don't have Google Drive set up, if you don't have clear filing systems that are really self-explanatory where they would find the files that they need, then this is something that you need to prioritize. Number 3 is standard operating procedures. So, you know, looking after my inbox is not a system. If you ask me to come into your business and say, hey, I want you to manage all my emails, that's great. What do you want me to say? To who and in what situation? Like they can't read your mind. And so I see this time and time again, especially for women. And we do this with our husbands as well, where we expect our husband to be able to read our mind. And then when they can't and they fail, we end up disappointed or we blame them. And but like, you know, they live with us 24/7, you know, for years at a time and they still can't read our mind, right? So how can you hire someone potentially from another country who doesn't know you from a bar soap, who doesn't know the way you think, who doesn't know your business, your clients, and how everything works? You're bringing them into your business and expecting them to just like know what you know and to run with it. And it's really setting yourself up for failure and setting up your team for failure as well. So we want to look at what is the system, what is the process behind the scenes, how is that documented so that someone who doesn't know how any of it works can come in, read the procedure, know exactly like what is expected, how to do it, what order to do it in, you know, how they're being monitored against it in terms of their performance, like what does success look like, you know, what do I do when something goes wrong, like what's the process. We want all of that to be really clearly and easily mapped out so that they can just pick it up and run with it, right? And then we can train them accordingly. So actually, I'll just come back to this around training because, again, having a procedure is only one step of that process. You want to be able to train someone just like you are with a client, right? You're taking one part of the process, you're tracking it down, you're explaining how it works, you're teaching it to them, and then like they're testing it out a few times, and then you're like, okay, cool, you've got it. Like you can be responsible for that. And that's the point when it's fully handed over. So you've got to factor in training. And oftentimes it's like, well, here's my login. Here's like, I've told you in a voice message and a link what I want you to do. Like, why aren't you doing it? And really it needs to be a lot more thorough than that. And, you know, I know maybe that feels like I don't have time for all of that, but the reality is if you want to scale your business, and you want your business to operate beyond you and without you having to do all of these things, these are the necessary things that you need to put in place and think about it if you want your business to be able to run without you. And number 4, so offboarding before the system exists. So again, I see this one a time and time again that you want to hire the support because you're at capacity, you can't do more. So you're on board, but it's like they're not the person to build the system, right? A VA is someone who comes in to do the tasks typically. The system's up and running, it's documented, and they're basically, handed off. The system is handed over to them to maintain. Once it's like working, things are ticking over, and that's running smoothly, that's when they can step in and pick it up. But most people don't have any of that in place, and that's when they consider hiring and then wondering why it falls over. So really, there are 4 key phases to offboarding. The first is you need to build and test the system. So what do you want it to look like? What are the scripts? Are there email responses? Are there DM responses? How do you want things to be repurposed? What does that look like? Test that out, document it. Number 2 is the documenting part, writing that down, making sure that's really clear. There's clear standards there around what works, what doesn't work, what's go, no go. Then hire the person based on the specificity of what the task is, what the skill set is that they actually need, whether they're, a great fit personality wise. And then number 4 is we train and offboard, and then it should hold and it should maintain. And your VA should be happy. You should really only be getting maybe 1 or 2 questions a week about some, anomalies and I'm not going to say that word, some outliers, right? So it's only when you do it like this that you stop being the bottleneck, right? When you do this, that's when your business can run without you. And that's when hiring actually is a relief and a godsend and is one of the best decisions that you've ever made in your business, rather than it being a frustrating one because you've skipped 1, 2, 3, and you've gone straight to 3, and then you haven't even bothered with number 4. So the hire isn't the fix. It's building the system, documenting the system, hiring the right person to maintain the system, and then giving them effective training and fully offboarding it. So what changes when you get this right? You have a clear job description. You know exactly what they're doing, what their responsibilities are, what success looks like, what needs escalating, what needs your approval. You have an organized back end of your business. Your files are very easy and very clear to locate. You've got proper standard operating procedures. Everything is documented and easily and clearly communicated. And you've got systems built before anyone is hired. So when you have all of these things in place, it actually frees up your time instead of consuming more of it. So if this hits home and you're like, my goodness, I've got some work to do, and you want to dive into exactly what systems you've got in place, find out where your specific gaps are for different aspects of your business, then DM me for your free audit. This is a 30-minute process. We jump on a call. I'll take you through my process, which I usually take through with my one-on-one clients, and you'll walk away knowing exactly which 3 systems you need to focus on over the next 30 to 90 days in order to close these gaps, in order to be properly prepared, in order to hire a VA and be able to offboard that effectively so you can actually get your time back. All right, I hope that training was super helpful. Let me know in the DMs or in the comments below what landed for you, what was your aha or epiphany. I'd love to hear from you, and yeah, I'd love to give you a free audit. So I'll speak with you soon, and I'll see you in the very next training.